We spent a lot of time in the previous section going through the many methods of doing off-page SEO, i.e. the art of backlink building, creating content and links on other people's websites for the purposes of improving the Google rank of your own website. Now, in this video, I'd like to discuss some of the very deep-rooted, I think, problems that may arise when you partake in this sort of SEO as a primary marketing strategy for your web business. The backlink building game, or the game of black hat and gray hat SEO in general, is just that. It's a game. It's a never-ending game of chess that SEOs play with Google. Now, some people have made and currently make a lot of money playing this game, especially back in the day when the Google algorithm was pretty naive. The methods we've discussed had a certain allure because of their supposed promise of guaranteeing rapid site rankings and hence fast cash. But if you're considering going down the gray hat, off-page SEO, backlink building route, then let's discuss some potential problems that you may encounter. Problem number one, off-page SEO is susceptible to daily algorithm changes. If you spend any amount of time on internet marketing blogs or forums, you will forever be stumbling upon some guy who appears to be making good money based on some quirky SEO trick he's uncovered. But if you keep tracking these guys, if you keep following along in their thread or blog, then you'll eventually see them post an acerbic update about how that evil corporation, Google, has just wiped their websites off of the search results page. Everyone in SEO has seen this happen again and again and again. It's happened to me more times than I care to admit. If you ever spend a day clicking old links to internet marketing and SEO blogs from just a couple years ago, you'll be hit with a flurry of website not found pages. Almost all of these gray hat and black hat marketers eventually close up shop. Why? Because Google didn't like whatever method of backlink construction they were using, and hence Google decided to decrement their web pages' rankings. So they lost all their traffic. Without traffic, they have no revenue, and so their entire web business is wiped out. You saw a lot of this during the Panda and Penguin algorithm updates. In this slide here, someone took a picture of a mob in India and they photoshopped Google engineer Matt Cutz's face on the protest signs. So the joke is that because of the Google algorithm updates, all of these Indian SEO guys were suddenly out of a job and rioting in the streets. This is a joke picture, but it's telling because it shows you how many people out there are basing their website business model on organic search traffic and backlink building tricks, and not on foundational business principles. And no matter how smart you are, you're probably not smart enough to trick Google into ranking your website forever. You might be king of the hill for a while. If you are particularly talented at off-page SEO, you might be able to keep tricking Google for years to come. But you want to remain cognizant of the fact that this company, Google, has a lot of money and hires a lot of smart people. This clip is showing the Google search team discussing future algorithm changes. This is a table full of smart guys. Are you going to beat these guys? Some of these guys spend nearly every waking moment of their life trying to think of increasingly better ways to rank websites on the internet. So be aware that any given backlink building method or link building scam that happens to be working for you today may not be working for you tomorrow. If your entire marketing strategy is merely based on off-page SEO, then you will forever be susceptible to the whims of this juggernaut, Google. And this brings us to our next problem. Problem number two, off-page SEO is less cost-effective each day. Google is much smarter now. When search engines were young and nobody knew the power of SEO, you could throw up a couple easy articles and your website would start ranking within a couple weeks. Or you might buy an exact match domain name and you might be on page 1 of Google in 24 hours. Things are trickier now, and you have to evaluate your off-site marketing expense from a cost-benefit perspective. There comes a point at which you'd be better off working on real, long-term growth in your business rather than devoting resources to the latest backlink building trick. Black hatters think they're avoiding work and making fast cash, but they often get into what I call the black hat marketer's paradox. People quit their real job and get into black hat marketing with the intent of making some, quote, easy money, because they don't like working hard, but they want the good life. But ironically, they end up working harder as a black hat marketer than they ever did in their old job. A lot of these guys are in front of their computers from sun up to sun down, but they learned a few SEO tricks and they tell themselves that they're getting all this, quote, free traffic to their website. Obviously, it's anything but free. They've often devoted years of their lives to learning these techniques. That's a lot of time that they could have spent on more legitimate pursuits like product development, building real products and services. So you have to remain cognizant of the actual cost of your, quote, free website traffic. After you pay yourself and pay your employees and pay your backlink content production costs, how much is this free traffic really costing you? What if you were to have simply taken that cash and invested it into other marketing efforts like simply buying traffic? Most of the big names in internet marketing almost never do any of these off-page SEO methods. When they want traffic, they buy it. Or adding more quality on-page content to your website, or simply making a new and better product. There comes a point at which it is no longer cost-effective to engage in off-page SEO as a marketing strategy, and you have to be forever wary about where that point may lie. Problem number 3, off-page SEO is ethically questionable. A lot of people in this game eventually begin to have moral qualms about it. There's a great article here from Leo DeMilo. It says, I received an email from someone I didn't know who saw an article I wrote. This person had a mother who was suffering from a health condition and asking me for advice. This was despite the fact that I wasn't in the position to give advice. I ranked for a few keyword phrases regarding her mother's condition. The articles were simply rewrites of rewrites. Anybody with a 5th grade education could have done it, to be really honest. In fact, I outranked medical websites that could legitimately give sound advice. I was just a marketer who had found a product that someone with that disease may want to try, and I happened to know the game of organic search, so I didn't respond. But it got me to thinking about the moral obligations that we, as marketers, have to the rest of the world and to ourselves. And the whisper turned into a shouting match with my conscience. Let's be honest here, you can rank for things like plumber widgets and how to install a toilet, but chances are good you aren't going to get any love from those who are active within the DIY market unless you know what you are talking about. Since I couldn't develop relationships with them, I one-upped them. I developed a relationship with Google Search instead. We create junk in the hopes that it will make a few dollars or cents, and then we rank for it because ranking isn't necessarily precipitated on what others think of us, but how we are able to manipulate an algorithm. So this is a really well-written article. This very nicely sums up many of the, quote, make money online methods that you encounter on the internet. So just be warned, there is a dodgy aspect to off-page SEO that some people have trouble reconciling with their conscience. This is why I encourage people to create websites that sell products or services that you are intimately familiar with. Problem number 4, off-page SEO is boring, soul-crushing labor that results in existential angst. So, the final and most important reason why I hate off-page SEO is because I find it to be atrociously boring and meaningless labor. I got into this business so I wouldn't have to work in a job I hate, and then after doing off-page SEO for a while, I realized I was doing a job I hate. I hated building backlinks and spinning articles and ordering cheap content. I hated creating content for other people's websites. Now, some people love it. There are some personality types out there that get aroused at merely the notion of pulling a fast one over on Google. And I admit it can be thrilling at times, especially when your websites start ranking and you start making some fast cash. It can be exciting, but eventually I got really sick of it. Last year I was actually teaching myself how to play blackjack and count cards. You might be familiar with card counting. It's been depicted in several Hollywood movies. Basically, if you're good at memorization and arithmetic, then you can slightly increase your probability of winning in blackjack. It can be fun for a while and you can make some money, but I was thumbing through this card counting book and the author, Arnold Snyder, ended his book with the following paragraph. After you become a professional gambler, there is one last problem you will face. You must learn to deal with the existential fear of being a replaceable cog in a machine that produces nothing. Human beings have this weighty fixation on doing something important, producing something of value and making a difference in the world. But professional gamblers relinquish this human need to do something of value. Card counters are simply siphoning money from a meaningless cash flow system. They produce nothing, perform no service of value to anyone, entertain no one, and in the true sense of the word are financial parasites to an industry. So this is a very well-written stanza here, and it's hilarious that he chose to end his own blackjack card counting book with a demotivational speech like this. But it very nicely sums up the nature of off-page SEO. Off-page SEO, or black hat internet marketing in general, is too often merely about this, quote, produce nothing game. A game that is ultimately wholly unsatisfying. You'll be devoting valuable years of your life into being a parasite to this corporation, Google, and even if you succeed and you make a lot of money, you haven't really done anything particularly admirable with your life, other than learn how to fool Google into ranking your websites. Plato lived 2,400 years ago, and he said the 3 goals of every man are to be healthy, to be rich by honest means, and to be beautiful. So take a look at goal number 2 here. And notice how Plato was careful to include the phrase honest means. He could have just written to be rich, but he didn't. He wrote to be rich by honest means, because he obviously understood that people would preferably like to have a clear conscience on their path to success. Everyone is going to have more respect and admiration for the man who produced one beautiful website that made $100,000 a year than the man who merely produced thousands of black hat websites and made $1 million a year. So there's some food for thought. Now, on the other side of the coin, also keep in mind that off-page SEO, artificial backlink building, still works. As discussed, Fortune 500 companies have done it or have hired other people to do it. And even Google themselves have been accused of doing it. That's why they famously punished themselves in 2010 for ranking too high for the keyword web browser. So, most of the biggest names in business have engaged in sneaky ranking tactics at one point or another. I made my first HTML webpage in 1997, and I have done every one of these ranking tricks at some point in my life. So you'll get no moral judgment from me, but be warned that off-page SEO is very volatile, and you have to really ask yourself if you're actually working on your business, or are you just devoting resources to mastering a transient black hat marketing skill set, a skill set that is rendered increasingly useless as Google's search team makes their ranking algorithm more and more intelligent.